Hey folks, Chef Jean-Paul Bourgeois here in the Louisiana Cooking Test Kitchen, your authority for all things great out the Bayou State. In this video, I'm going to show you how to make a winter classic, oyster soup. Let's get cooking. Before we jump into the cook, let's go over some of the ingredients here on the cutting board. You got fresh Louisiana Gulf oysters, of course. Got some heavy cream, leek, celery, fennel, onion, bay leaf, lemon, some homemade shrimp stock, butter, salt and pepper, a little fennel frond, and cheese for a garnish. And that's about it. This recipe takes about an hour to cook, start to finish. What we want to start with first is 1 stick of butter. 1 stick of butter in here. You can use olive oil if you have a aversion to butter, if you will, but since I am making kind of like a brothy soup with some cream in it, I thought butter would be a good ingredient to use. But of course, I love a good olive oil as well. Would work great in this recipe also. Just melt that butter down. Then really this is gonna happen quick. Once that butter is melted, we're gonna add the leek, the fennel, the onion, the celery, the garlic, the bay leaf, and really get all that cooking down and really soft and translucent. But it's really gonna act as the foundation for this soup. One thing not to sleep on is really good seafood stock or shrimp stock. If you can make your homemade stuff at home, this is gonna be a good recipe to use a really nice shrimp stock with, or a good fish fumet with, because you know this is a really fresh, vibrant dish with, it's got a lot of vegetable in it, but it's got big aromatics when it comes to like the different types of onion and fennel and bay leaf and so on. And having a nice shrimp stock with those fresh oysters just gives this soup a really nice, vibrant, fresh aroma and taste. Of course, also, you can't sleep on your oysters either. Make sure you're getting those oysters from a really good fishmonger or provider. If you're gonna buy them in the shell, make sure they're closed and tight and not opened. Or if you're gonna buy them shucked, make sure you're just getting them from a trusted source and they are, American oysters that have been freshly shucked. All right, our butter is nice and frothy. Let's go ahead and add our leeks. Some minced or small diced yellow onion. A few ribs of celery, nice and sliced thin. And some diced fennel. For those not familiar cooking with fennel, it's also known as anise. Adds a great kind of like licoricey bite to this recipe. It goes beautifully with seafood, especially bivalve such as oysters, clams. That's still ripping on high heat. I'm gonna add my bay leaf and a nice heaping pinch of salt. That salt's gonna really aid in bringing out that moisture from those vegetables. What we wanna get is a good sweat of these vegetables, which means we want it translucent and not creating too much color. Soft and translucent is the goal. The salt helps pull that moisture out and sweat those vegetables. All right, so our vegetables have become nice and softened in that pot. I'm gonna add just a little bit of garlic. This is just a couple cloves of minced garlic. I'm gonna stir that in there. We're still on high here. Kind of get that garlic incorporated into that hot mixture of onion, celery, leeks, and fennel. The bay leaves are really fragrant right now. All right. Now we're gonna use about a cup of white wine and add it into this mixture. We're gonna cook that white wine until it's just about dry, or in French cooking, you would say until sec, which means dry. So just reducing that mixture down by at least half. It'll take a couple minutes to do that. But you can really smell just by adding that wine in there how fragrant all this is becoming. It's only gonna get better as I add that fresh homemade shrimp stock to it. Here we are. As you can see, there's hardly any moisture left in that mixture. Perfect time to add our shrimp stock in there. We're still rocking on high heat. Got some cold stock, so it's got to come back up to a simmer. But once it does come up to a simmer, I'm going to give it its first taste and start adjusting seasoning from there. All right, our soup has been cooking for about 20 minutes, been kind of simmering away. I want to taste it for seasoning before I move on to my next step here. I haven't hit it with any salt aside from the sweating section, so I assume it's going to need some more seasoning. Let's give it a shot. I assume correctly. Ooh, but it's got a good base, got a good foundation, good bones to it. Hit it with a little bit of salt, good bit of cracked pepper. I don't need to fully season it yet. I still have some cream to add to this soup. I still have some raw oysters, which are high in salt. So I don't want to over season quite yet, knowing that I have a few more ingredients to go. That's good right there. I'm still on high. I have some heavy cream right here. I'm going to add that right into my pot. Give that a stir. Now again, this has to come back up to a simmer where it's going to simmer for another 20 minutes. This is looking pretty good. If you wanted to make this into a chowder, guys, you would add potato and bacon to this. But this is, so it's a couple ingredients away from a chowder. So if you're looking for something more substantial, you know, those are two ingredients that you can add to this soup to do that. But I just wanted to keep it nice and clean and simple for a good oyster soup. All right, our soup has been gone for another 20 minutes with that cream in there. I want to tie up a little bundle of thyme before I throw my oysters in there. Because this is a fresh soup, I like having the thyme going in at the very last part of the soup. Keeps it that nice fresh tasting thyme instead of like just being like cooked and cooked and cooked. I will make a little bundle here, trying to try to keep that thyme together. There's a little flavor pack. Let's see. All right, now I still got oysters to go. They're a little bit bigger, so I'm going to give them a little more time to cook in that soup. I'm going to drop the thyme in, give it a little stir, let it do its thing, and then I'm going in with this full thing of oysters, the oyster liquor as well, which is known as the oyster kind of water or liquid in there. That's going to just, again, add more flavor to this soup. For those who don't like large oysters, you may want to look for smaller ones that are being shucked. These are pretty big. I don't mind that, but they will take a little more time to cook. About 10 minutes on a simmer in this soup. Also, right now is a good time to check for seasoning. And the oyster flavor is really nice in there. I'm going to add some more salt, some more black pepper, and just give that another stir. Let's try it one more time. All right, that's feeling good. I'm going to let that come up to a simmer. We're going to cook for about 5 to 10 minutes and be ready to serve. All right, our oysters have been in there for about 10 minutes, just very gently poaching and simmering in this soup. It's time to plate it up. Actually, before I do that, let me give it a little bit of Cajun season, just to kind of give a little bit of extra depth, a little hit of hot sauce for a little heat on the back end, and a little vinegar. When I add my hot sauce, which has vinegar in it, I want to make sure that fire is off so it doesn't kind of start to curdle the cream in there. And we're going to plate this up. I love this dish in the wintertime. It's the peak of oyster season, kind of in January and February. And you got a hot bowl of oyster soup like this. Really does warm the soul. And you get a few oysters in there. Color up a little bit more. Now, what I like to do to finish this dish is give it a squeeze of lemon and a nice helping of Parmesan cheese on top. And then you can pick some of those fennel fronds. If you went to the grocery store, you likely got fennel with the fronds on them. These make a nice little garnish. They add just a little touch of herbaceousness to it. Kind of spread that along around your soup. Let's give this guy a shot. Woo, that's a hot bowl. All right, I'm gonna put it down instead of holding it. Man. You get the fresh oyster creaminess from that cream in there, and also that bite of lemon at the end, along with all that cheese, just adding complexity to that soup. Man, that is delicious. It is warming my soul. My name is Chef Jean-Paul Bourgeois, and I am out of here.